Welcome back. This is week 3. My name is Tanya Kay. If you haven't met me before, I am a coach and consultant for women who want to launch and grow successful six-figure businesses, all while living the lifestyle that they love. And this lifestyle I like to call the beautified life. And now, if you're tuning into this is actually week 3 of our Clean Up the Mess series. It's a December series that I launched at the beginning of December to help us clean up our mess, in which I call it, and go into our hiding place. And that is what we're going to do on the last week. I'm actually going to be posting week 4 and then a meditation to really bring us into the new year and set us for success. And success means having clarity and having direction with your purpose and your vision. And so without further ado, let's go into week 3, which was a super emotional one for me. I mean, it's not for nothing that it's called emotional cleanup. And what is so divinely timed about this emotional cleanup is that I got my period. And so when you get your period, I mean, if you're watching this, you're most likely a woman. You know what it's like. It can be all various types of things. But for me, this one was really a release of my emotions. And it was just so divinely timed. And so I really took time to go within and ask myself what it is that I need to clean up. And most of it was about relationships. And so there's different forms of relationships that we have: professional relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, and family relationships. And so this past week for me so far has been really setting myself up for success in 2025 when it comes to cleaning up my relationships and starting a good, clear path. And the more that we can communicate ourselves, the better it is when it comes to our relationships. And so what I did was actually, it happened naturally, don't get me wrong. So I'm actually going to just share the process with you. And then I'm going to share a practice with you in which you can do if it doesn't happen for you naturally. But I think it happened for me naturally so that I can relay this message for you. And so basically this week I had a variety of people actually reach to me. And this process was really cool because I was like, wow, actually never thought some of the people that reached out to me would reach out. And so when I saw their name and they had sent me a message, I was like, what is going on? Like, I haven't heard from this person at all. And I kind of left it there for a moment and I was like, okay, like, let me give it a couple days. And then finally, I felt the prompting to reach out to them. And this was a professional relationship in my life. And I got to really clean up just like some loose ends there. And sometimes when we have loose ends in our relationships, it can cause like some things in the spirit realms. And we actually don't know why certain people have entered our life. We're not God, and we may try to understand it, but we can never receive it from the vantage point of what God is trying to do in our lives. And so we always have to have our hands open, ready to receive what God is trying to do in us. Because really, like, our circumstances are because of what God is doing in our lives. And so if you haven't learned certain lessons in which God is trying to teach you and change within you, then how do you expect your three-dimensional world and everything outside of you to change? You really got to look within and do some inner work with God. And so this is where it gets super tricky because I know some of you do come from the new age space and the language is very similar. But here's the difference is that we are allowing God to take over our will and to show us what it is that we need to do. And it takes a level of humility and surrender in order to do that. And so this whole week as well, when I was going through the mental cleanup, the theme of humility and humbleness was definitely coming to the surface, and now much more than ever when it comes to relationships. And so what I'm going to speak about right now when it comes to our relationships is the theme of forgiveness. Now, I launched a prayer circle with a group of women, a small, intimate prayer circle, and it's just been absolutely beautiful to receive from them their, perspectives of certain biblical principles and teachings of Jesus, and being able to pray together. And so yesterday, I actually went on and brought up the theme of forgiveness and also the fruits of the Spirit, which are very connected to forgiveness in and of itself. When we don't have a forgiving heart, we actually don't have the fruit of the Spirit. We're holding on to other spirits, which would be resentment, offense, anger, pride, shame, all the things in which God doesn't want us to operate from. God wants us to operate from love, from forgiveness, from self control, from these beautiful fruits of the Spirit, in which I'll add a list here of the rest of them. And in order for us to do that, we have to find forgiveness in our heart. In the Bible, Jesus advises us in Matthew to forgive not just 7 times, but 70 times, 7 times. And so when you're going through this process of cleaning up the mess when it comes to your relationships, it's really, going through making a list of people in which you perhaps haven't spoken to in a while or have had some altercations with, or never really cleared up, that particular conversation. And I want you to pray on each one of these people. And the best prayer that you can do when you're going through this process, in which I found, is our Lord's Prayer. And so I'm going to recite it right now. And if you'd like, you can just bow your head, put your hands up to the air, and just allow God to touch your heart right now. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. And so, when you're going through this list, say the Our Father prayer, there are certain key things within that prayer that is just so beautiful, the Lord's Prayer. Not my will, but thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And so God in heaven has a particular assignment for each person that has entered your life. And so asking God, what is his will in this relationship? And what is it that he wants you to do, whether it is to reach out to that particular person, or to keep it and just pray for that person, or to write a letter to that person. Whatever it is, you go through that process in faith when you receive the sign to do so, and do it with faith and then release it. I know I had to go through that process this week. And not that it challenged me, but it definitely got me thinking and in a reflection state. And what's beautiful about this as well is that we're entering the solstice on the 21st. So whether you're watching this in December or a lot later, December 21st actually is a symbol of transitioning into a new season. And so entering that new season in general means that we are entering forth into the new. And so allowing for the shift in your relationships to take place in this particular season is going to be just super powerful for your emotional cleanup. So I would love your feedback on this, because this was a hot topic throughout the week. Forgiveness, cleaning up of relationships, reaching out, not reaching out. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to me personally. Just put yourself in the comments below, and then I'll send you a message and we can go from there. All right, so after this relationship cleanup, which is quite a lot, I'm going to transition into our next part of emotional cleanup, week 3. All right, so next up we have cleaning up our wellness routines. So this is another big one as well in regards to emotional health, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. So I was an instructor, and I still am. I still teach workplace wellness and different wellness classes within the study that I'm in right now. And wellness is just such a key towards our emotional health and well-being. And so when it comes to wellness, it's not just our physical practice, which is, the exercises that we do, but really what makes you feel good at the end of the day. And so I really like to look at it from a routine perspective. Although we always want to keep the spontaneous alive in our life, having routines are just really important. So if you don't have a routine right now, which is a morning routine or an evening routine, a closing routine, even a Sunday routine, I would advise to really start creating one. And it doesn't have to be anything big, and just make sure that it's personalized for you. What we want to do in 2025 is not necessarily copy other people's routine. So I'm actually not going to tell you what my routine is per se, but what I'm going to tell you is how I cleaned it up. So I looked at my morning routine and I really asked myself, am I doing this? And the answer was no. I mean, your routines can change as you move along because every season of your life and every month and perhaps every week is going to be a little bit different, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And so you want to make sure that you are creating routines that are going to complement the lifestyle in which you are living and the work that you're doing and etc. And so for me, I really had to look at what is my morning routine and what is actually going to motivate me and give me purpose to wake up in the morning. And so for me, it's let's get up, let's put on some worship music, and, start my day in that way. And so I find that that's super helpful for me. And you got to find what's helpful for you, especially when it comes to your emotional health and well being for the rest of the day. Your morning really sets up the day. So make sure that you're creating a beautiful morning routine. And then a closing routine is really important as well. For entrepreneurs in general, it's actually really challenging to close off sometimes, especially when we have so many things that we need to do. And so you want to put in your calendar when you're going to close for that day. Even if you close later or even earlier, it is that time in your calendar that it says it's time to close. And so, what is that closing routine for you? Is it congratulating yourself? Is it writing down the things that really, you know, worked that day? What didn't work? How can you make it better? Is it shifting some things on your calendar for the next day? And so the closing routine is actually just closing off your work day. And then an evening routine is just completely different. So an evening routine is like what actually helps you wind down. Is it a cup of tea? Is it taking a bath? What helps you really wind down and get your nervous system to the point where you can sleep, where you can get into that state where you're having amazing dreams and you're receiving messages from God and you're really in tuned in spirit. Because the only way for us to be in tune and to be able to receive messages from God and understand our purpose, to continue to have clarity in our life, is when our nervous system is at a place of equilibrium. So you want to have an evening routine that really helps you fall asleep, because sleep is just so imperative. And there's a whole section here in Clean Up the Mess, week 3 of emotional cleanup, which is all about sleep routines, and I'll get in there soon. And then the last routine that I want to talk about is a Sunday routine. Okay, so at least one day of the weekend. Now, I call it Sunday because my work week starts on Monday. And so Sunday is a time for me to recollect from the weekend. And it could be a Sunday evening in which you're just organizing your calendar and you're getting super clear about what your week looks like. So you're mentally prepared, but also emotionally prepared for the week ahead. And so you're creating your life, you're creating your week based off of the goals that you have set for that week. And so it just keeps your mind and your emotions in a place where you sort of have things under control. And it's not to say that you should feel like you have everything under control, because guess what? Like, we really don't. We have nothing under control. It's actually in the control of God completely. Like most of our lives, if not all of our lives. You know what? I'm just going to rephrase that. Pretty much all of our lives. Like, sometimes I look at life and I'm like, how could this all be so perfectly aligned? And I've been having those really aha moments these days where I'm like, wow, God, you are really the author of this book. And I'm just like playing out this play. And it's so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful. Please, Lord, your will, not mine, be done. And so, yeah, just checking your wellness routines within all of these categories of your day, so that you're really prioritizing your emotional health and you're setting up your life for success and for thriving. All right, next up on our list is clean up our music playlists. Now, most of you know this, so I'm not going to be like, did you know that music actually affects your mood and your emotions? It's quite obvious. Of course it does. And we actually choose music accordingly to the mood and the feeling in which we want to, invoke within us. And so with this one's probably going to be a shorter segment. If you have Spotify, if you have Apple Music, going through your playlist and just seeing what is it that you were really listening to in 2024. Spotify has a super cool wrapped, where it shows you what you listen throughout the year. I know that for me, the whole 2024 was basically all worship music, which I am just so grateful for because worship music really uplifts the spirit and connects you with God, connects you with His will, connects you with His message. And so I would advise everybody to have a worship playlist for 2025. I'm actually going to add one in the description below so you can have access to mine if you don't know where to start. But really taking a look at your playlist and just making sure that what you're listening to is in alignment with the feeling in which you want to feel moving into 2025. I know 2025 is going to be an amazing year for so many people. So create a playlist of celebration and victory as well, because a victory is coming to you very soon in 2025. And if you believe it, put it in the comments and say, I receive. My 2025 is going to be a year of victory. And listen to music that really helps you get into that state and believe, and it will happen. All right, next up, we have cleaning up our self-talk. This is a major one for a lot of people because a lot of the time we actually don't know what we're saying to ourselves. We're just on autopilot. And so this is an opportunity for you to just take a step back and maybe write down some things in which you have told yourself that is more on the negative side of the spectrum. So things like, I can't do it, I won't be able to do it. 2024 was like the worst year ever. I don't know what 2025 is going to bring. I still don't feel like I know my value, etc., etc. All those negative things. I'm fat, I'm skinny, I'm too this, I'm too that. Write them all down, and I want you to actually write the opposite of what that particular thought is saying to you. And so you're just flipping the script here and giving yourself a new narrative to say towards yourself. Now, yes, these are affirmations, and affirmations are used within the New Age as well. But what I want to point out here is the identity in which you're speaking from. Now, for those of us who are in Christ, we are speaking in the authority of Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ stands and sits at the highest principality of power in all of the spiritual realms. And so when we sit in authority with Jesus Christ, everything that we say will come to pass. And so it's really important to understand the power that you have with your mouth and your tongue. Life and death is in your tongue. And so what you say actually truly matters. And so flipping the script for yourself and really begin to say things that will empower your vision, empower your clarity so that you can walk forward in 2025 with purpose and with direction. And I promise you, if you continue to sit in this authority with Jesus Christ, your mind will shift because it's about bringing the negative thoughts captive to Jesus Christ so that He can do the work for you. Okay. You are not actually doing the heavy lifting. Jesus is doing the heavy lifting for you. You're just saying, Jesus, take these negative thoughts and make my mind new, renew my mind, renew my heart. And you will see just a drop from heaven, all these beautiful thoughts about you and how God sees you. I'm going to tell you something. When that shifted for me, because I had a season in my life where I saw myself in a horrible way, and I still have moments like that, but they're far in between now. But there was a time where I was like, oh, I'm just horrible. Like, I'm not a good person and I don't deserve and I'm not worthy. And I just remember I had this glimpse of seeing myself as if God would see me. Now, that was a really powerful one. It was a glimpse, but that glimpse shifted a lot of things for me. And if you can have that drop from heaven just for that moment to receive that glimpse from God, it will shift the way that you see yourself. And from then and on, you will see yourself in a different light, because I know it happened for me. And so, because I'm a testimony of this particular um, understanding and teaching, I hope that you can do the same for yourself. All right. So, next up is cleaning up our gut health. Now, our gut health is just super important when it comes to our emotional health. So, maybe you know this, but our gut is actually known as our second brain. So, what actually happens in our gut dictates the way that we feel and think. Like, isn't that absolutely insane? But it's so true. When you get that queasy feeling in your stomach, you're like, something is wrong, and you will actually get unctions, that gut feeling sometimes, right? And so having a healthy gut is actually just super important for your mood. And so when it comes to this, really asking yourself, what is it in your food that's promoting good gut health? Okay. So it might be giving yourself time to write a list of good gut healthy foods. So this could be transitioning your bread from just white regular bread or rye bread, whatever bread that you eat, to a sourdough, because a sourdough is super gut healthy. It has all that gut microbiome bacteria that's going to promote healthy gut. You can incorporate other things like having yogurt in your diet. Now, if you have milk intolerances, there are other alternatives in which you can still have really good gut health. You can drink things like kombucha. You can also add in other foods like sauerkraut or kimchi, which also promote really good gut health. And so, taking that time to just clean up your diet and your gut diet specifically, so that when you're entering 2025, you have a routine in place when it comes to making sure that your gut health is in check. Next up, we are speaking about cleaning up our sleep routine. Now, sleep is a huge thing for our emotions. If we don't sleep well, most people are super grumpy. So, sleeping in general is just super, super healthy for us, and we need it for our emotional health. And so when it comes to cleaning up our sleep routines, it's really asking ourselves, what is it that's going to help us bring our nervous system down? I know I talked about this a lot in our wellness routines, but really, giving yourself a check of, am I going to sleep right after looking at my phone and scrolling for 30 minutes? Can I give myself 30 minutes of no scroll time and pick up a book instead? Or just be able to listen to some music in the background that's super soothing and soft? Or be able to have a candle and just watch the candle and just be in the moment present without any screens at all. So this includes your computer screen and your TV screen, and especially your phone screen. Okay. I am criminal when it comes to this stuff. I'll be really honest with you. I always go to sleep right after looking at my phone screen. And it really needs to stop because it affects so many things in my sleep. I'm not able to get into a good REM sleep where I can actually have the dreams that God wants to show me, in which I can receive more revelation and understanding of what God is trying to say. Now, not to say that God will find any way, okay, to communicate with you when he wants to communicate. So even if you didn't reach REM, I promise you, he's going to reach you in a dream if he needs to reach you, especially if you're a dreamer. But we can receive so much more in our dreams and in our sleep, even if you're not a dreamer, that when you wake up in the morning, you're actually super fresh. Okay. Now, there are many apps that are helping people now with sleep routines. I haven't actually explored any, but what I've heard is that, and I will be exploring actually, but what I've heard is that these apps can actually show you the optimal time for yourself to go to sleep and to wake up. Now, just through practice, I've noticed that if I go to sleep at 10:30 p.m., I will wake up at 6 a.m. super sharp, like the best sleep of my life. If I can have 1 or 2 days like that, my week is set up amazing. So that doesn't mean that every day you have to go to sleep at 10:30 p.m. But it's just having 1 or 2 days of that optimal sleep is really going to change, like be a game changer for your sleep routines and your overall emotional health. So when it comes to cleaning up your sleep routines, just being really honest with yourself about your screen time, that is like a big key in all of this. And then making the proper changes. And you may want to actually lock up your apps completely so that you don't go on, and it'll give you a signal that, sorry, well, your time limit is over. And then you'll just be like, okay, let me put it down and pick up a book and read. All right, for all my ladies, hormonal health. This is another big one. So, as much as gut health is a huge one and it interrelates with hormonal health affects our emotions and our emotional life 100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, me going through this process as I'm menstruating has been a very interesting journey. I mean, something that I'm not new to, but just actually really grateful that it came to be at this particular time period, because I just spent some more time really sitting in and seeing what is going on so I can do a proper cleanup. And so when it comes to hormonal health, I just ask myself, what are the things that I do premenstrual and what are the things I do postmenstrual? And how do I continue this beautiful cycle that just allows for my hormonal health to sustain itself in a good and healthy way? And so for me, I have been using a magnesium supplement that's been doing really well for me. I make sure that I have a hot pad on hand when I am menstruating, and it's like a non negotiable first, second day, especially the first day. Like nowadays, my menstrual cycle is quite clean and clear, which is beautiful. God bless. But I definitely use a hot pad on the first day to alleviate cramps and make sure that I'm drinking lots of water. When it comes to teas, I make sure that I'm drinking like a nettle leaf tea or a green tea, trying to eliminate some caffeine in my diet as well. I am a coffee freak. Like, I love coffee so much, especially in the morning. I wouldn't say like I have coffee all throughout the day, but I definitely do like my coffee in the morning. And so I try to make sure that I eliminate it on the times in which I'm going to be going through my menstruation process. Um, and then self massage is just really good for hormonal health as well. And just eating some whole, healthy foods. The more whole the food is, the better it is for you. Sweet potato is absolutely amazing. Getting some omegas in there, which is your salmon, a really good brown rice, some avocado, some spinach, apples, bananas. All of these are just super good. And of course, everyone's diet's going to be very different depending on your gut health, your different specifications. If you have lactose intolerances, different intolerances or allergies. So it's not a one size fit all strategy here. I'm just offering you what I'm doing for myself, and then you can go through the process to clean up your diet, your hormonal health, and just the routines that you're doing to help out with that. All right, so that is it for week 3 of emotional cleanup. I hope that you take the time to really do this week because it's just so extremely important. I am really grateful for this emotional cleanup in so many ways, and I look forward to your feedback as well. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and press that subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. We'll see you for week 4 for the final week, which is spiritual cleanup. All right, see you then.